Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Diaspora Spotlight. My name is Maria Njoroge. Today, we have a guest that is an entrepreneur, a community advocate, and someone that has a space and a platform in the media industry. Through the radio Diaspora Maju, he is going to tell us what that is all about, the advocacy work that he is doing. His name is George Gichobi. He is a Kenyan from Mwea, Kirinyaga County. And I want us to listen to his journey from when he left Kenya, what he's been up to, and his message to us today. Welcome and join us for the next 1 hour as we delve into this very interesting story. Welcome, Gishobi.
Hello, everybody. My name is George Gichobi, as she's just said, and I'm happy to be here and in the Diaspora Media. I am from Kirinyaga County in Mwea, where we do a lot of rice, but we born and raised in Nairobi and Mombasa and some Nakuru. So I'm basically more of what you call all-rounded Kenya. I've been to most parts of the country.
Okay, so George, when did you leave Kenya?
Oh, that is like more than 25 years ago, in 2000. I remember that's the time that they were talking about the internet shutting down, the whole world was going to shut down. And, I decided, let me go. And if it shuts down, it shuts down when I'm over there.
Okay, so when you left, was it a job or was it to pursue education?
So I was in the field of special education, if you can believe it. And I was teaching the blind.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very interesting experience. I developed a program whereby I teach the blind college students about how they can do their home institutional management, fashion design, and how to work with their hands. So you already see how that is a dilemma, because if you teach the blind people, they need to see what they're doing, but if they don't have the sight, then how do you go about making sure that they understand what they're doing and they can produce something that can be viable economically, and they can be able to sustain themselves.
Okay, so were you always passionate about working with people who are able differently? Because
Yes. So my journey started out as a technical education teacher from a
Mhm.
technical training institute. I know now it's called TVET.
Mhm.
Um, and right now, at the point in my life, I've made a sort of a 360 turn back towards teaching. But that is where I started, and I've gone through, a lot of twists and turns. So I'm right back where I started. Uh, Special ed obviously was my passion. So I'm still doing that, but more like general education.
Okay, so what was the process like then, 25 years ago, the process of leaving Kenya? Because times have changed right now. There's a lot of details, there's a lot of red tape when it comes to leaving a country to say either work or study. How was the experience for you?
Even back then, I think the process was still the same. It was
Mm-hmm.
hard. It wasn't easy. Obviously, you had to go get to the interview. You had to show where you're going, what are you going to use to sustain yourself. So I think it was still hard, but I guess right now with everything that is going on, it's a little bit more harder. But obviously, if you have a good reason and you can justify it, it's always a good thing to have with you.
Okay, well, that's good to know because sometimes when I talk to people who've left Kenya, say 20 to 30 years ago, they can tell that there's a difference in the way things are handled now in terms of immigration. Since you left, have you been to Kenya?
Yes, I've been to Kenya several times. I know I was back there in 2012, where I had to bury my mom, unfortunately.
Okay.
And since then, I've been coming back and forth as much as I can. Not as much as I want to, but as much as I can. I try to
Mhm.
be there at least every Christmas, from 2012. But recently, I didn't come there for a while until 2022. 2021, right after Corona. That's when I came back. So yeah, it was quite a while.
So where have you raised majority of your family from, Kenya or the US?
My family is still in Kenya. My direct family is still in Kenya. So
Mm-hmm.
over here, I just have a brother, and the rest of my family is actually in Kenya. I have a sister and another brother in Kenya, and I have my children also in Kenya.
Interesting. We'll get to that because I think sometimes when you're in another country and your family is in another country, the complexities are different. However, did you always want to go to the US or did you start off somewhere else and then end up in the US?
Obviously, US was number one. And then obviously before that, I'd gone to German, and then in German, I'd stayed there for a while. Then
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it over there, so I came back to Kenya. And then after I came back to Kenya, then that's when uh, I went to the US. But I was in Europe, visited um, obviously in German, a couple of cities in German, Düsseldorf, Cologne. And then I went to London, in uh, United Kingdom, and then I came back home. The language barrier in German was the big problem for me, so
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't hack it. And I said, you know what, let me go back to Kenya and do structure and rearrange myself. So I went back to my teaching job over in Machakos Tech, and I continued there for a while until I was called for the conference where I was talking about the vision and how people can be helped with different abilities.
They call you Master G. That's a very interesting nickname. Why?
Okay, so Master D is also very interesting for me because that's the name that I started off with. I
Uh-huh.
tried to shade it a couple of years ago because I'm no longer a master because I'm getting older. I'm a mister, but I try to tell people the artist formerly known as Master G or call me Mr. G, but everybody knows me as Master G, so they kept on calling me that, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to change. And also nowadays, in terms of branding, I realize, if I change it, not a lot of people are going to, know who we're talking about because in most places here in the States, if you ask for George Gichobi, they'll be asking, who
Who's
is
that?
that? But if you say Master G, they'll be like, for good or for worse. So it can go either way.
Mm-hmm.
So where it started was actually me and I had two partners, Uncle Dennis and MC Stopper, also interesting names. And we were in a group called BMW. We were the first rappers ever to rap in Kiswahili. So we started the rap craze in Kenya and rapping in our mother tongue, having Western beats to Swahili or English or Kikuyu. And, right at that time, it was a funny thing to do, and everybody was skeptical about it, but we kept at it, and we actually developed a sound. And that sound, was picked up by Ogopa DJ, was picked up by Ted Josiah, and it ended up blowing up because a lot of artists jump on board. Akina Noini, Akina Nameless, Akina Isa, rest his soul in peace. So I can say we started that sound, we developed that genre, and I'm very proud of it right now. Actually, it's not just in Kenya. We also influenced a lot of Tanzanians. They were very jealous at that time. We influenced a lot of Nigerians, and they took it and ran with it. So, we have the Burna Boys, we have the Davidos, we have the Wizkids, and I can say it is all courtesy of Master G. So Master G, tumetoka mbali.
So that was in the year 2000 when you were making these sounds.
Yes, just before I left. So it was even earlier than 2000, from
Does that
maybe
mean that means you can
1998.
rap in Kiswahili?
Oh yeah, I can rap in any language.
Can you rap for us right now?
I don't know. Asiyesikia la mkuu huu huvunjika guu huu, wacha kuleta ujinga, mimi nitakupiga, mlifikiri nimeishia, bado niko hai, bado na obviously censor some words hapa na pale. So I have a song, Agenda 4, which is maybe you can catch it on YouTube under my name, George Gichobi. The Agenda 4 was about the political instability that we had in 2007. So, when they went and saw Kofi Annan, I think it was, and they decided, these are the four agendas that we're going to need for peace to be, everlasting in Kenya. So that's what the song is about, and it's about the four pillars of uh, having a long-term stability. And I think it's still pertinent to this time. So if you like conscious rap, you can go check it out. It's called Agenda 4. Um, Peace, Love, and Unity, Africa Unite. Is I'm more of a conscious rapper. I could do a dance song, but I would be doing a disservice to my people. So if I'm going to do any music, that was then, but even now, if I'm going to produce anything, it's going to be conscious. So don't be listening to me at the clubs, probably, when you're chilling and, you want to have some conscious music.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. I think music doesn't really have boundaries, and there's a way that music connects people, whether it's within the country or even outside, as long as you can understand the language. And sometimes I don't think you really need to understand the language, you just need to vibe to the tune, and that's about it. So thank you very much for sharing that part of your life with us. So the name Master G did start in Kenya, and somehow it stuck with you.
Yes, 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 yes.
And
There's a rapper in America called Master G. They're from the group The Rappers Delight. The ones that sang they're actually part of the people who started the actual hip hop in the Bronx. So initially, I'd gotten the name from there, uh, being like my idols, and because my name, I have a G, two G's in my name, so I said George,
Master
Gichobi,
George.
Master. Just
Mm-hmm.
it just went together, and it was just at the time when hip hop was being born
Mm-hmm.
or becoming popular. So we started the hip hop, but we thought we'd change it a little bit, not to be uh, so much Americanized, but we can adapt it to what we have here in our own Swahili language, and also in our own Kikuyu languages and other languages that we can use. We integrate our culture with the modern music.
Okay, so talking about transitions, you've left Kenya. Did you transition into the role of teaching, or how did that go when you found yourself in the United States?
Yeah, that's a good question because obviously when you land here the first time with your educational papers, the thing is they have a different system. So as much as you're qualified, whether you're a lawyer or a teacher or any other profession, they want you to follow their system so you can be accredited to or certified to be in that field. So the I wasn't able to directly go back to teaching and or go back to school, although it was an option. So I, went into other areas, I did other types of jobs until now I got back to where I was settled, then I could do what I prefer to do.
Okay, that's really nice because there's usually this fantasy of, you've left Kenya and then you go there and you have this big dream in your head. For you, how long did it take for life to start, making sense? Was it an immediate gratification?
No, 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 no. So I stayed in New York because I landed in New York. So I stayed in New York for a long time, about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Before I could get even my bearings to know, because it's a culture shock. First of all, you have to integrate with the society, learn the rules of society, the laws and the do's and the don'ts. And then once you get integrated into society, then from there on, then you can uh, start thinking about career, family, and stuff like that. So it took me a while. So when I left New York after 10 years is when I was, okay, let me see what I can do now. So I went to North Carolina. I stayed in North Carolina, then came back to Baltimore. So when I was in Baltimore, that's when I decided, I'm more settled now. I can go back to teaching, but obviously I can't just start teaching. I have to go back to school. So I went to Morgan State University where I got my undergrad in mass media, as they call it now, but it was actually broadcasting and integrated media. At that time, uh, Facebook had started blowing up. Um, all the social medias that had started blowing up. So I saw this and I saw this as something that will actually become very big in the future. So I decided, let me just go with this. And that is what I ended up doing.
Okay, so thank you very much, because that brings me actually to the next question of Radio Maju, because I really want us to talk about that. And you've transitioned from one profession, you've gone for undergrad, you've studied this journalism thing. So how then do you decide to practice? Because one thing I know about journalism is the differences in culture determines how you practice. So how did you start?
Okay, so when I was in my undergrad, I was still doing other things. So something else I used to do was, because I'm from Kenya, I'm a Kenyan. That's why I got to, we did a lot of events here in the States. So I did a lot of parties with DJs and artists. So when the Kenyan music started to get international recognition, or even just recognition at home where people were appreciating the music, that's when we decided to start bringing these artists to the States, because they were doing very good in Kenya. And a lot of people in Kenya being nostalgic, missing home, and loving the music. So we started bringing these artists. I know we started with Nameless, Wahoo, and Mr. Lenning. I think that was the group back then. Nonini, Juakali, they came through. And from there, the floodgate kind of opened with Akina Red Sun and all these other artists that were doing well at that time, and Wire and so on and so forth. So I also take credit. If I'm not going to be given the credit, I can take credit for that. So we started that trend, and it's going very well right now. So you find that Kenyan artists really come to the diaspora or come to the States for events. You know, whenever there's an event, we just finished Memorial Weekend. We had the end from Sauti Soul. We had top DJs. We had top artists participating. So it has become a trend where it's more regularized now.
Okay, so it went from events, like I want to understand how you went from events and entertainment to radio.
Mhm. Yeah, at the same time, everything is concurrent.
Or
I'm
there
not
was
doing
no
things separate.
transition, it was just everything everywhere.
Yes, yes. So when I was at my undergrad, so I'm here doing a lot of Kenyan events. I'm doing local events myself here in Baltimore, in Washington, D.C., in Delaware. These are cities that are around me. It's called DMV, that is Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Because they're so close together and they are very small states, we just call them DMV because it's like a shared market. And all those people, some people go to the D is the DC, and the M is Maryland, and the V is Virginia. Actually, the D was not for Delaware, but also Delaware is included because it's a small state that is right next to Maryland. So, as much as we're doing events, I realized also there's another gap that we can exploit, and there was a lot of what uh, there was an opportunity. Let me just say
Okay.
that. So, and then I had access to the knowledge, and I had access to the equipment from school. So I just started Radio Maju, and it sounded like something that it would really work to unite diaspora and to
Mm-hmm.
you know
So it sounds like
share
something that
knowledge.
you began, huh? Pardon?
Yeah, something to share information, share knowledge, and also for
Mm-hmm.
entertainment.
But why radio? You've just said that Facebook was coming up, there were other platforms. Why radio?
Because I was in broadcasting and integrated media. So in media, there was the two main platforms that you can use to share the word. Obviously, you use the social media to boost it, but at the end of the day, you still need like a platform that is a radio, and it's being technology driven and it's online. It's actually easier to operate. You don't have to have the the towers, big studio, capital expenditure is actually eliminated because you can have a small studio in the house or in the office, and get it online, and it can be broadcast internationally, worldwide, as opposed to just having a frequency where you can just broadcast in Nairobi and Eldoret, or you can just broadcast in Baltimore and DC. So I thought that it would be a great thing to have a radio station where people in Kenya can get online easily and listen. People in Scandinavian countries, in Asia, in Europe, in North America, they can easily come together and have something shared that is common. So I had the visual, which is I have another brand that deals with a lot of visual and events called Musical Safaris, and the radio station is actually just more audio, but in this day and age, everything is also visual. So I have shows on Radio Maju that are visual that you can watch, and then I have shows that you can just listen to, and of course a lot of music from various Kenyan and African DJs. Let me just not say Kenyan and African DJs, but international DJs play all kinds of genres of music.
Okay, so I can say that this is a station that has survived the tides of time, with technology, with the changes in consumption trends. How have you stayed? Is it a business or a passion? And have you managed to, leverage it to a sort of income?
Yes, it's more of both. It is income generating enterprise, and it's also a passion, because without the passion you cannot get very far with this kind of business, because it can get frustrating. Let me just put it that way. So if you're not passionate for it, you won't go very far. So obviously the passion is there, the talent
Mm-hmm.
is there, the skills are there. Funding is not so much there, so you have to depend on donations. You have to depend on advertisers. So you find that at some time when you're pitching, or is something going on, and maybe advertiser A wants to sell real estate, or advertiser B wants to sell some fintech product, or advertiser C wants to sell beauty products. So it fluctuates. So sometimes you find that it's three, four, or five industries interested in your services, so you promote them depending on what agreement that you have. When that one ends, you go to another one, and mostly our bread and butter is through promoting events and promoting stuff that is um, viable or wanted by the diaspora market. So if the diaspora market is in for real estate, we do real estate. If they're into the market for banking, we do banking. If they're in the market for fintech, we do fintech, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so considering this is a business, how have you stayed relevant all this while? Is there like a model or something that you're doing differently? Because that's a really long time to be doing radio.
The only way I can stay relevant is by knowing the audience, so, and keeping up with the trends, obviously. So I already built an audience from the ground up, so it wasn't something that was generated by an algorithm or something. It's just one at a time from way back in the day, just
Mhm.
doing shows, doing events, and just sharing and posting stuff. That way, you just build one client or one audience at a time. And then obviously whatever is going on in Kenya in terms of music,
Mhm.
entertainment, the latest that is going on, if you highlight it here, the people who are here in the Western world, they like to see what's going on in Kenya. They want to know what's hot, who is hot, and what is happening there that they can take advantage of. So by cultivating the audience, they always know that whenever they come to Radio Maju at a particular time, or if you're advertising an event or a product, then they know that this is something that they need to take advantage of at the particular moment, because things change differently all the time. So we change with the time. We don't stay static. Whatever is relevant at that particular time, that is what we go with. whatever advertiser has a product that needs to be advertised at his own pace, at his own time is who we go with. So we stay pretty flexible. I think that's one of our strengths.
That's really good business advice, changing with the times and being flexible to what the market or what the audience wants. So what has been the biggest milestone you would say for Radio Maju? What's the one thing that you've done and you're like, wow, I'm glad this radio exists?
Um, that is a very good question. So with Radio Madrid, the most important thing that I've done as of date yet is to just create a platform for artists and musicians to get together. So during the COVID lockdown, I had a lot of guests and we discussed a whole lot of issues. I had a guest of mine who's an artist that's called Daddy V from Texas. We featured him. That was a good event. And I also had a chance to talk to my old buddies that we started the rap business with. Uncle Dennis in UK. He's actually now in the States in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to Uncle Dennis, Chief Chef. And then Uncle MC Stopper. MC Stopper, I've not been able to locate him, but I know he's in South Africa somewhere. So once I get a hold of him, that maybe we can also make history. So those two interviews and the opportunity to bring them on board and keep people locked in during the lockdown, I think that was a highlight of the radio station because it came at a very opportune time where everybody was locked down. So you could either do the content for people to watch or go into oblivion.
Okay, well, that's really nice, and I'm glad that people heard that, and as a means of connecting. And going forward, what is the one thing that you know you're aspiring to use this radio because you already have a platform and you have an audience that trusts you? How are you using this radio and this platform to connect to other diaspora people?
So we are at a very pivotal time.
Mhm.
Times are changing rapidly, things are changing rapidly. As you can see in the Western world, especially the political front, things are not working out very well for the diaspora and the immigrants, which we fall squarely into that category. So with that comes the need for us to band together and also have a voice. Because if you don't have a voice in this current dispensation, I'm talking about U.S. politics in particular, then we'll be shunned aside and our rights will be trampled on. So for us, most of us who have been here for a long time, we know the laws, we know the rules. So we're staying steadfast in advancing the rule of law first of all, and then also the economic opportunity of our brothers and sisters. So as long as we can discuss or we can share that kind of information, which is the most important right now to the people in the diaspora, then we're doing our job. And then obviously a lot of businesses right now have realized, maybe they realized this before, but they didn't have a way to go about it. They have realized that there's a big market in the diaspora and they have a lot of disposable income and they are looking to invest back home. So, as a platform where they can come and talk to their clients or potential clients directly. So we offer that, and I see that as a niche or a place where radio and broadcasting and media in particular can play a very big role. And then last but not least, also there's a lot of change going on in Kenya. We saw the Gen Z revolution last year. We are back in June again, so we are advocating for obviously for a peaceful resolution of any political questions that come to hand, and we are watching them very closely, advocating for peace and also advocating for what do they call it, literacy, education, and knowledge sharing, so people can make informed decisions, whether it's economically and politically, both in Kenya and overseas.
Okay, that's really great. And I think we've really gone into depth about what Radio Maju has been doing and what it is continually doing. And because I know this is a very big part of the brand and the kind of business that you do, it's something that would come back to. I know that as part of this business, you're a promoter of events here.
Mhm. Yes.
But you've also said that you wanting to ditch the name Master G was because age was catching up. So how are you thriving
Yes.
in the entertainment industry these many, many years later?
Um, Persistence, passion. I think those two things right there.
Persistence and
Uh,
passion.
yes, yes, yes. It's not something that you just woke up today and decided, okay, I'm going to be an engineer, which is not
Mm-hmm.
possible unless you have gone to school, you have had the experience, you have worked in various sectors. So I'm saying that just persistence and passion that you have to have that in order to survive in any industry, and not just the radio industry or the media industry. So we've been there. I've done a lot of other businesses like trucking. I've been uh, various call it hustling, and I always have like a fallback place to on with Radio Maju, whereby I know that I have something going on, even if I'm not hands on 100%. It's still something that is going on, and it's building as we go. So as much as the years go by, it's building. We're getting more audience, not less. We're getting more advertisers, not less, and we're reaching more geographical areas, not less. So it is something that it's like an investment which is growing. So we know, I know for a fact that it'll be something that, and like I said earlier on, with all the things that are going on in the Western world, particularly in the US and also in Kenya, East Africa, and the region, these are things that are very volatile. These are things that we need to have our heads really wrapped around, and realize where is the point where we can help and where's the point that where we cannot help.
Okay. So talking about that, the one thing that I want us to go into is your advocacy efforts. What is that about, and how did you decide that, I want to take part in community activities to champion for the rights of immigrant workers?
Yeah, that is also very important because me myself, I'm an immigrant, and here we face like a triple discrimination. First of all, you're black, so you're lumped into that particular uh, set of people. You've been told, okay, you're black people being treated like this. There's some racial prejudice, there's some economic injustice, there's police brutality, and they don't discriminate. They don't say that, oh, you're black from Africa, you're black from Kenya, you're black from South Africa. You are black, so they treat you as a black person the way they treat other black people. Then you're from Africa. Then you have
Mm-hmm.
that accent. Then you have, so you have like a triple identity that is actually supposed to hold you back with the way the system is set up. But if you use that to your advantage, you can always overcome it. You know, don't use it as a setback, but use it as something that can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what kind of efforts and campaigns are you currently running?
So we have a local campaign where obviously we're feeding homeless people, and it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that. Homeless people in America. I'm helping a friend of mine with her organization, the Voice for the Voiceless. And in terms of advocacy, this is interviewing policy and policymakers and leaders who visit from Africa and who are here also to make decisions like people in power in the county and in the federal level that decide, what are the face of this, or what is going to become of, what rules and procedures and laws are going to help you um, elevate you, and educate you. So as much information that I want to get as much information as I can so I can share it with other people. I find that that is more liberating because I cannot use all this information myself. But once I share it, I put it online, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X now. I find it is because 6 months or a year down the line, somebody might call me or write me a text and tell me, "Oh, you remember that certain date you talked to such a lawyer or an engineer or a doctor, and this is what you were discussing, and it really helped me." And I said, "Oh, okay. I probably don't remember, but if I go back to my notes, I can find out where is this and how it helped you." So I want to disseminate as much information as I can, and obviously help as many people as I can.
Okay, talking about these advocacy efforts and the Voices of Africa that you're doing, um, there's a very, very hot political climate right now in the United States, and it's not even in the US alone, it's happening in the UK, and it's happening in a lot of countries, of course, that have immigrants. Does that change how you're approaching advocacy? Because I know 5 years ago, as much as immigration was a big deal or economic injustices was a big deal, right now, because the United States is very vocal about immigrants and the issues affecting them, is that changing how you're approaching advocacy?
Most definitely, because we are not living in a vacuum. So
Mhm.
you find that even like myself, after 25 years of staying here, you'll find that you're still being treated like somebody who just landed, and there's that effort of, "Oh, this is my country, you have to go, you have to go, you have to go." So you ask yourself, um, where am I going? East, west, home is best. So I always tell people that it doesn't have to be like a death sentence. If these people are asking to leave their country and you have no reason being here, just leave, go back home and just do something else. Because, there's people back home, there's family back home, and there's a great need. Actually, there's a very great need for people to be back home and help, because a lot, if everybody runs to the west because of greener pastures, what about making our homeland or home country reach that greener pasture whereby people will want to come there instead of trying to go away from.
But it's not a very easy decision because I can imagine just how much effort and time and money someone puts to, go to any country that's abroad, hoping for a better future for themselves. So I don't imagine it's a black and white situation when it comes to you've been told to leave and now you're considering coming back.
Oh, no, 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 it's not. It's not. It takes a lot, but what I'm saying is we have to adjust our mental thinking just a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, because even the mental slavery is what got us here in the first place, because we were told that, "Oh, this is the land of milk and honey, so we have to go there, and abandon everything else despite all the hardships." But if you
Mm-hmm.
look at it on the other hand, it's still not true. They have managed, through media, through other sources, they have managed to convince us that, and there's obviously an advantage because it's a first world country, but realize the history. Where did they come from? Where did they start? How did they start?
Okay, thank you, dear viewers, for keeping with us up until this period as we've been talking about the journey of George Gichobi throughout his transition where he left Kenya 25 years ago. 25 years is a really long time to be out there, and it comes with a myriad of experiences in terms of things that people go through. And he's found himself a jack of all trades. He left Kenya as an educator, but when he got to the United States, he realized that the systems were different and the expectations in terms of qualification were different. Therefore, he says that he thrived in the entertainment industry because that was a hobby of his and that is what he was passionate about. So this is something that happens to a lot of people that we talk to. You leave Kenya, you hope that your academic pursuits and your academic qualifications do earn you a spot out there, but sometimes the answer is not that straight over line. Therefore, you need to be quite flexible in terms of deciding and determining what you're going to do so that you're not stuck or you do not find yourself in a position where you do not know what to do. So for him, the outlet was entertainment, and I can say that it's an area that he's thrived in. I mean, he's coined a name Master G for himself. So I can imagine that 10, 15 years later, since he joined the industry, he's someone that is worth his salt in terms of entertainment, in terms of promoting, and of course, creating a radio space where people in the diaspora can thrive. So, arguably, as we continue dissecting and looking at this story, one of the biggest platforms that is currently having is a Radio Maju, that there is a lot of convergence when it comes to the media industry, and there is a lot of shift that is happening. And for someone to run such a niche station and for it to actually work, it takes a lot of determination and in terms of discipline, in terms of business. And because this is a venture that is bringing in money, George says that passion, consistency, and discipline, and adapting to what the audience wants is what has kept this business running. For any business owner out there, it takes you mastering an audience and trying to figure out what it is people want and what problem they want solved. If they want solutions in real estate, please be there as a provider for real estate. If they want a solution for banking, provide a solution in banking. In whatever industry you have an interest in, solve that problem. Previously in Kenya, during that era that he left, which was in the year 2000, the problem of connecting musicians to the people out there in the diaspora in terms of creating international music was an actual problem. It wasn't as straightforward as we see today. So it is through people like him that some music from, renowned artists like Nameless and Wahoo got out there. And it's not even about the entertainment itself, it's also about some of the advocacy efforts that he is pushing and some of these conversations that he is enabling people to have. People in the diaspora do not live in a vacuum. They live in societies, they live in cultures, and they live in economies. When you leave Kenya and find yourself, say, in Australia, in the United States, and in Europe, you need to be very culturally aware and to be very politically woke to know what is happening in those countries so that you're not blindsided. You cannot bury your head in the sand. You need to know what's happening. And of course, one of the ways to know is to consume information and interact with people that are like-minded, people that are likely having the same challenges that you're having, because he says that 25 years later, he's still treated as someone who's just landed. It does not get better. We just get better at handling situations. And the best way to learn how to handle situations as an immigrant worker in any diaspora country is to have information. Information is power, and information is armor. Okay, so we were talking about advocacy efforts and how the change in political climate is affecting the efforts that you're currently running.
Yes, 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 yes. Advocacy is very, very, very important. I think you saw the Black Lives Matter movement when it started, and
Yes,
obviously
I
it
did.
started because of an injustice that was committed against a particular race. So we went hard on that one. Not to be destructive or disruptive, but just to share the information that Black lives really matter, and they don't matter over other minorities or other races, but just as a merit for Black lives in particular. Speaking for yourself, so to speak. So I find it very important to raise this issue, especially for the young folks, and to
Mhm.
give direction. So that is why I'm even advocating to be Mr. G, not Master G. But
Mhm.
um, ever since I got my master's, the name has come up forceful. So we'll
Mhm.
just stick to it.
So, in the United Kingdom, I see a lot of community-based groups, or maybe Kenyans in Reading have their own organizations. Kenyan in Northampton have something that they're doing. Do you run similar initiatives in your state?
Yes, there are actually many different groups. Some of them I just call them some village organizations that I really do not vouch for. And it's always a good thing for people to come together, but what are their objectives? What are they uh, doing for the larger community? Are they just there for themselves and their people, or are they there to help other people, especially new immigrants? Are they there to help the young folks who are trying to navigate, maybe going to school, going to college, finding a job, finding a house, or are they there to advocate just for their own particular communities? So there are different organizations that I work with. Obviously, there are religious organizations. There are the economic forums like chamas. There are like SACCOs. So all these groups, it's fine to have the groups, but at the end of the day, if they're not helping the larger community, I don't think the groups are of any use to anybody apart from obviously their own members. So I support all groups that advocate for the larger community, and also want to remind them that them by themselves they are a very very small minority. Doesn't matter how many people you have in your group. Already in America, you're a minority. You break it down to a state, you become a smaller minority. You break it down a little bit more in your city or in your town, a smaller minority. Then you break it down more into the Kenyan community, not even the black community, the Kenyan community, the neighborhood. So you can see that this is a very, 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 very small, minuscule number, no matter how many you are. And in order for us to be effective in anything that we do, it has to be uh, a larger community joining us. So recently, I've joined partnership with One Voice Consulting. One Voice Consortium, led by Dr. Robert Shori,
Oh yeah.
actually tries to do. Yeah, so what they try to do is, as the name implies, they try to bring different diaspora organizations, whereby they can join hands and help and form some kind of policy that will help the greater diaspora in the long time or in the future.
So thank you very much for sharing that. Judge Gichobi says that the One Voice Consortium has been one of the ways that brings people in the United States together in terms of businesses and economic forums. And just talking about how that one umbrella organization makes it easy for people to connect. So that's really nice, and that's really positive in terms of a community that helps other people thrive. So I think currently I would say that the US is more economic focused in terms of the kind of associations that you're forming.
Yes, yes, yes. More economic focus. I know there's a Kenya diaspora circle, and I know there's a US circle, and a couple more. And uh, but apart from just the economic or the financial part of it, I would like to applaud the efforts of Dr. Robert Shore to bring different organizations together. They could be in education, they could be in tech, they could be in industry, they could be in finance, and they all bring something to the table. And then we find that we have a lot of expatriates because of the brain drain. Everybody who has any kind of professional background wants to come to the USA because obviously the pay will be exponentially bigger than what they're getting in Kenya, which is understandable. But my question is, who did you leave back home for, or the doctor for your mom or your sister or your sister or your brother? Who did you leave as a structural engineer to build a house there? And how can we leverage whatever experience or education that we've gotten here and use it to help people back home? And my biggest thing is always to make sure that there's not that need of people wanting to leave their own homes or their countries to go elsewhere. We want to create an atmosphere where people are very comfortable with where they are, and they are not like being pushed by an endless, an invisible hand to just go, get out of the country and go. It doesn't matter where you go, which has led to some very bad outcomes, especially for people who go to countries that are unstable and there's no human rights is not big on the agenda.
Okay, so looking at how things are right now, do you think the media has a positive role, considering that you're also part of it, has a role to play in terms of where the world is heading in terms of politics and economics?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, even me, when I was making my decision to travel abroad, I was highly influenced by the media. Little did I know that, there's somebody who has to green light a message, and that message is what, informs your decision. So, they paint a very rosy picture of the Western world. Money is growing on trees. You can pick up the gold on the ground, and there's no hardship, there's no problems, nothing that it's actually heaven on earth. So when you find that in your home country there's some problems, then you think about, okay, I've seen this on a movie, or I've seen this in TV. This looks really nice. This looks really clean. This is where I want to go. So media has a very big role. Some people might dispute it, but trust me, it affects you. It affects me in very, very fundamental ways that we need to actually uh, acknowledge. So, as the voice of diaspora within the Radio Maju, we want to bring these voices out and explain to the people. Um, One of actually my biggest things in this political dispensation, especially in Africa and Kenya in particular, is the systems, democracy. U.S. has had its democracy for 200 years, and they still haven't gotten it right. They're still tinkering and working on it. We've had our democracy for less than that. Uh, we should not. We are not on the same level. But how do we use that knowledge that we have to make sure that we don't have to spend another 200 years just to reach where they are? So the good thing is the media has come in, technology has come in, so it can shorten that gap really, really fast. So we say, okay, they went through this, they went through this, they went through the industrial revolution, they went through the tech revolution. Now they're here. I don't know what kind of revolution we are in, but I'm sure we're in one. Maybe the AI revolution right now. So information technology is also a big part of it. So what role do we play? Like in terms of democracy, personally, what I think is we shouldn't have more than, especially in Kenya, we shouldn't have more than one party, because once you have 47 parties, guess what? Each tribe is going to have its party. So they're not going to call it the Kikuyu party, the Luo party, or the Kamba party. It's going to have some fancy name and still, but if I'm Kikuyu and that's my party, KPU, that's Kikuyu People's Union. So all the Kikuyus will rally around me. If somebody else has his own Luo party, they're going to rally around him. And it's just that inherent human nature that is there. So my proposal, might sound radical, but just have two parties: a conservative party, doesn't matter what name you call it, and a progressive party. So the progressive party is the young people, the Gen Zs, the tech people. They want to progress. They want to, be like the Western world in terms of infrastructure, in terms of media, in terms of everything else. And the cultural party, which is not necessarily bad, but they want to preserve nature, they want to preserve the economy, they want to preserve the culture, the African culture. So these two parties can compete on ideas. So it doesn't matter if it's the cultural or the conservative party. For old people, obviously, more old people might gravitate towards that, but also young people have these kinds of ideals. And also in the progressive side, there's some old people older than me that, might want to be on the progressive side. They want to see skyscrapers being built. They want to see internet being rolled out everywhere. So it eliminates that need for tribe to be an equation. So, you can go to either party depending on what you feel like. If this conservative party, whatever they call it, Green People's Party thing, have ideas that can lead our country to a better place, fine, join it, whether you're young or old or whatever tribe you belong to. If the Progressive Party, the Gen Zs think that this is what we need to build more roads, we need to build more schools, we need to build more hospitals, fine. What are your ideas towards that? And the people can decide, okay, this time I'm going to go with the progressive, and this time I'm going to go with the conservative. Because human nature, we cannot all have the same. We might be friends, but our ideas or our terms of thinking might be too different. We always differ. So why we already know we're gonna differ. We already know we're different tribes, and we already know we're at different socio-economic levels. So why do we set ourselves up for failure? And that is what might happen in the next election.
Okay, that's I think in a perfect world, that would be a really, really good way to, look at things and look at politics. But our democracy is still growing, so is our media, and so is how much influence it has on decisions. And hopefully, as we continue having these conversations, of course, and getting the information out there, which is the least we can do as media personnel, is get people the right information, get people the right experts to talk to them. And the more we talk about something, of course, the more impact it's going to have. As we come to the end of this, I would like you to talk to young people and old, maybe give them a message of hope and something to look forward to.
Yes, definitely. Look at the American economy. Um, Look at the size of the landmass of USA. They only have two parties, Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And they have obviously we got a father, there's some people will not be aligned with those two, so they're independent. That's it. That's all you need. So if Kenya can go that route, through a constitutional amendment or whatever it is, the sooner the better. That way we can develop our country without having to fight all the time, without having to depend on the tribal equation and so on and so forth. So I will advocate for that. And if there's any leader that's out there that's also advocating for that, I will back them 100%. So for the youth, just remember that, especially back home, you don't have to fight anybody to get into competitive politics. You don't have to fight anybody to choose or elect your leader or to follow your leader. And that is the bottom line. If you find yourself that you have to do that, create violence just to go through an election cycle, then we have something that is fundamentally broken that we need to fix. Also, in terms of economic prosperity, I know we've been told this over and over again: work hard, stay focused, and everything will work out. I still believe that is the case, but we also have to look at outside factors that are influencing us and how they're hindering us and how they're helping us and take advantage of both.
So, as we come to the end of this episode, I would like to thank you for listening to us. If you know any diaspora leader or any diaspora person of impact that is having any community activities that are of importance to the people around them, please send them our way. Would be glad to feature them and tell that story. We are telling diaspora stories one person at a time and connecting people who are of impact to the society. Of course, you cannot finish this show without thanking the people that make this possible. We have Centum Real Estate, that is our real estate plug. If you need anything in terms of real estate, both in Kenya and the diaspora, Centum Real Estate is your go-to person. We are in partnership with a remittance company by the name P Angel. They offer the best rates, they offer the best conversions, and the easiest way to send money from home. And anything that makes your work easy, please, we are your people for that. If you need a logistics company, we work with Unique Logistics. Please find them online and you can ship anything, anywhere, and across board. We work with so many people that make this possible for us. We have Equity Bank that is partnering with diaspora people and those from Kenya to give them the best rates in terms of banking. If you want mortgages, if you want loans, then Equity Bank is your go-to bank. And of course, I cannot conclude this without talking about Imarisha Sacco. For every young person or for every person that has once needed a loan, that is 4 times their savings with a very good repayment and a very good flexible schedules, and with a 24-hour diaspora contact center, then Imarisha Circle is your go-to. Okay, thank you very much for your time today, George Gichobi. And I'm very sure because all these conversations and what you're talking about is important, we are definitely going to have you again on our platform as you do this call to action and telling people to look at things differently and telling them that there is a better way to do things. With age comes wisdom, and with wisdom that you've acquired through these years, information is power, and We want you to give people that power, because information is useless if it's in one person's brain, but when it is shared and disseminated, I believe it becomes more powerful. So thank you very much, George, for your time. I will give you a moment to say a last word and say goodbye, but I will see our viewers next week on Sunday during the next Diaspora Spotlight episode. Wambie kwaheri.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. Obviously, when you get a chance, log on to www.radiomaju.com. Listen to some music, very eclectic music, not music that you would find on other radio stations. Obviously, when we're having such guests, listen to the guests and find out what they're talking about, something that can help you. I also have another brand, which is an events brand and a TV and film producing brand that is called Musical Safaris. We did an event there, I think it was in 22 in Kenya with artist Luciano. And that was supposed to be, it was themed Unite the Youth. And it was very just before the elections where we said, the youth have to be united and not united so that they can fight, but united to avoid fighting and to make sure that their voices are heard. So we're still on that theme of making sure the youth are united, the youth stay peaceful, and the youth elect the leaders that will work for them, not just in Kenya, but in the US, where things are looking like they're going haywire, but obviously things are going to get better. Just hang in there. Thank you for having me. My name one more time is George Gichobi, and CEO of Radio Maju and the musical safaris.com. Yes, Radio Maju is everywhere on social media, at Radio Maju everywhere. Obviously, the website, www.radiomaju.com. And you can also find me at Musical Safaris everywhere. One word or two words. You still will find me on all the socials. So just hit me up.
Okay, thank you very much, George Gichobi, for that very heartfelt story. It's always a pleasure listening to someone who's lived out there and has an experience of both worlds. 25 years is a really long time to be outside the country, to make a life for yourself and have both a family here and making friends out there. We do wish to see you back in Kenya, maybe for retirement at some point, and you should start making plans for that, and we are going to welcome you with open hands, maybe some nyama choma. But until then, please continue impacting the message that you're doing out there. Thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us over the last hour since we began until now. It's been me, Marianne Jeroge from the Kenya Diaspora Media. Please make sure to follow us through our social media platforms that will be attached to the show notes of this episode. I will see you in the next one. Kwaherini.